Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Lotus Love Dreams. I'm Lotus Love, and I'm dreaming about us aligning with the light within ourselves. And I am here today to talk about going from trauma to bliss, which is quite a bit like my own personal experience. I mean, I was born like a bliss baby, like most babies, goo and gagaing, and just being so embodied and connected with embodiment and with all the sounds and surroundings. We feel so much from birth, even before birth, when we're in our mothers and on. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. I would like to cheers, as I love to do, with our special waters. If you would get some water, if you're going to listen to me. And so pause it and get some water. Get the best water you can. If you have spring water, or if you have ionized water or filtered water, be sure it's mineralized and that you have activated water. This is activated water. It's ionized, and let's activate it further with the waters in our hands, the waters in our body, and the waters around the world. Thank you, beautiful water, for being so beautiful. Thank you for helping heal me and nourish me and hydrate me. I'm so grateful for the cleanly, lovely water. I love you, water. I love you. I love you, water. May all this love drink inside of me and heal me, detox me, love me, nourish me as you do. Prost. Oh, that's right. I don't think the bell you can hear with my microphone and possibly the setting I have. We'll see. Alas, I prepared a little bit more than usual. And this will, like I said in the previous podcasts or YouTube's videos, that this is going to grow organically. And earlier today, I rushed to get the natural light. And then I was like, go, 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 go. And then the sun set. And anyway, I made it. It was faulty, and I'm starting over. So I will just tell us what we need to know about trauma and bliss. What will help us go from trauma to bliss? Trauma to bliss. So if you've had trauma, which most of us have, then let's talk about bliss. The wailing tree, reconciliations. So, whew, yeah, that's potent. The wailing tree is this breathing faces, this being that the tree of life is us. We are the tree, we are the roots, we are the branches. We're connected to the light of the sun. We wave in the winds and we receive the nourishments of the water. We connect with the mycelium of the underground network of mushrooms. Our roots go deep, receiving the nourishment from the soil and the waters. And our xylem and phloem flow up and down, sending nutrients, bringing light to the places and spaces. I don't know as much about trees as I would love to, but trees and the tree of life and how we represent trees, I do know that. So in the wailing tree, that's the trauma. Like when we're in that trauma state, it's like we're in this wailing, like, oh, and we can get stuck there and in our crying and in our discomfort and our fear, and it ends up being a loop, a stuck loop, like that plays again and again and again through our body in multiple ways, from rumination, over ruminating, thinking, and that's like the electricity in our body. The synapse is how they travel through us, and it could be something happening in the gut, in our intestines and or in our bladder when we screw up or something like that. You suddenly have to go, and so that's like the stress, the squeezing, the elimination, of the fear of the moment, and that continues to go through us. So we've got three brains, right? We've got the brain in our head, we've got the heart in our chest, and then we've got the gut and our intestines and all that flora and the microbiome in our intestines. And the intestines are a place that a lot of these hormones and these synapses are coming from. So I will be able to tell more about this when I prepare that, but know that we have the three brains and that a lot happens in the gut that actually sends information to our heart and our head, and that we have synapses in our heart, we have synapses in our gut, we have synapses in our head, and they travel up and down through our spine, through the sushumna, the Ida Pingala, or the nerve plexuses as we know them in Western science, neuroscience, and then in the chakras in the Eastern, and then in the Eastern Ayurvedic Hindu is like the chakras, the yogic, and then I know that's for sure yogic. I don't know if it's Ayurvedic or in Hindu. So, but Indian traditions, the yogic tradition is the chakras, the rainbow from the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, light blue, aqua, dark blue, and then purple, and then opalescent white. And so there's all these different traditions that have this flow from our body, the 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 flow up and down the spine. So when we go from the root up into the sky, and then when we go into the sky down to the root. And when I say the sky, I'm saying the sun, the wind. We do receive energy from the sun like the trees do. So this tree looks like it's in heat. It's almost like it's on fire, but it's not on fire. So it's just, and it's crying, it's dark, and it's wailing. There's some mushrooms there, but it's reconciling with the trauma, with the crying. So a lot of times when we cry, it's grieving an experience, a situation, and it's okay to grieve. And in some traditions that I've learned about, is they actually have grievers in their tribes. And there's a person who is considered the griever and grieves for the tribe's losses. So a lot of people or tribes or just people in general have different levels of feeling. So there are some of us that are very empathic and might be crying a lot, and others who just stuff it down and pretend like it's not there. And there's all kinds of levels in between. And then there's some people that just let things flow and let it go and forget about it. And so there's a lot to all this mechanism of our body and how we react to a situation, how we integrate the experience, whether it's painful or blissful, whether it's trauma or happiness and joy. So this is life, right? This is the potential aspect of all of our living. And you know what? I just want to make sure I've got the right microphone on. Yes, I do. So sometimes I don't have the right mic, and I tried this earlier. But anyway, so now I'm more set to talk to you about the trauma, the bliss, the coming alive. So there's this spectrum of potential in any experience. And we have a choice of how we react to it. Given if something extremely uncomfortable, sad, fearful, happens, then it's appropriate to grieve. It's okay to cry, to feel the loss, to to think about it, to feel it, to let it move through us. Because if we don't, then it might get stuffed in us and it's still wanting to come through. And then it gets stuck. It's hidden. It's wanting to come out. It's saying, yo, here I am. And it might come out in multiple ways, from volcanic eruptions of anger and frustration to dis-ease. And disease, is discomfort, dis-ease, not being in ease and flow and grace with our embodiment, with our lives, with our experiences. So ideally, this flow, like the tree of life, the xylem, the phloem, the light coming in and going down into the roots, through the body, nourishing everything, and then the roots, the water, the nourishment, the mushrooms, the fungi of the amoeba, whatever we need down in the roots, coming in and nourishing us, tickling us, tingling us, and bringing this entire system into flow. And this can flow in both directions. So you can flow from the ground up into the sky, from the sky back down to the root, and it can get stuck along the way or take passageways or get disconnected, forgotten, lost. And this is what a lot of new sciences, and actually older sciences in the past, but now we have the internet and we can talk about it. So some sciences like Dr. Eileen McCusick and Dr. Jerry Tennant speak about the electromagnetics of the embodiment. And there are others as well. I can probably name off a few, and I might as well. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, and Lynn McTaggart are three of my other favorites. But right now I'm looking at Dr. Jerry Tennant and Eileen McCusick, who talk about the electromagnetics of embodiment and how you could potentially get blocked or lose energy in the spaces. And then I'm also working with people on emotional medicine, and I will be certified an emotional medicine coach pretty soon, with a group that's doing an awesome experience for helping upgrade our mindset. And that's really what I've been about for many years. Yet I was floundering in in my experience. Let's not say I was floundering. Let's just say I went for experience and I had plenty of it. And I was discovering my way. I traveled the world to learn different meditation techniques. And I was also hoping along the way I would really gain a lot of yogic and bodily knowledge. And then also medicine and um, mindset, how to work with vibration, how to work with energy, magnetics, and also thought forms. And I just lost what I was going to say. Biomagnetics. Oh, I hope yes, I'm recording. I'm sorry. I'm still kind of getting used to this and making sure everything's all good. I just changed everything. And so what I'm talking about is my journey of wandering in search of my own personal healing throughout the world, throughout the teachers, throughout the learning. I personally have a master's in philosophy of consciousness. And when I was in grad school, I did a lot of self-inquiry. I had beautiful master bedroom in a community house overlooking well, it was in Oakland Hills overlooking the San Francisco Bay Area. And I saw the sunset every day out of my two beautiful 10 by 10 windows overlooking the entire Bay Area. We were so lucky as a community to have the space, and I was very lucky, and I'm so grateful to have had the master bedroom that also had like a marble lined tub. I had my crystals there, I had my speakers, and I had my plants there. And I would go in and take salt and essential oil baths and self inquire. And I had already traveled the world to a certain extent, learning different meditation techniques. And then after, I still learned further and more meditation techniques. So I've definitely learned a lot about that. And self inquiry was really big for my experience because um, as much as we might learn from the people around us, it's when we practice that we really discover what they're saying. So my mom would always say, listen to your body. What does your body say? And I would listen, and I became aware as a child, and I was connected to the elements and things like that. But I was very lucky to have a mother that really spent a lot of time listening to the nature and herself and going on her own self-discovery experience. And what happened to me in childhood was not expected and flabbergasting for our entire family, and we didn't know what to do. And so I became very independent in discovering my own journey from trauma to bliss. So a lot of the self discovery was really listening to my body, and that's where I call self inquiry. And I really wanted to, I did visit a lot of places and a lot of people and get a lot of like downloads from this person, that Native American, that guru, that shaman, that teacher, that and I would gather a little bits here and there, but there were also times where I immersed myself in a teaching and a learning, and sometimes became certified or spent weeks or months at meditation retreats and like the Osho meditation retreat. I love Osho. Any Osho fans out there, say I woo. A lot of people don't like him, but I love Osho, and I also know his bodyguard. Anyway, so there's a lot of stories, and it's about your experience. So if someone is boo-hooing something, boo-boo, like that's their experience, that's their opinion, and that's not exactly yours. So take it with a grain of salt and allow yourself to come up with your own conclusion, because a lot of this affront to our nervous systems is other people's opinions about what should be what. And you know what? That is the big O. It's oppression. Other people's opinion can oppress our own experience. So we end up repressing what is our nature, what wants to come through us, and then we get into depression. So that's what happens when we don't listen to our personal needs. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can activate depression. This is my personal experience of depression, is that other people's opinions overtook mine, and then I was no longer centered in my opinion, and because I repressed what wanted to come through me. And I'm a talker, I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, I'm an expresser, I'm an actor. I'm this thing that was stuffed into all these different boxes of other people's opinions. And it was dark because my light was not coming through. So I'm sharing this because I know a lot of you out there are also depressed, probably being oppressed and repressing your natural, innate light. And that's a trauma in itself. When you are repressing your beautiful, loving all the value and grace of your existence, you're stuffing that down because it's not supposed to be there. That's you repressing yourself and letting yourself be in depression. Okay, so those people didn't like it. Okay, so when you did it, it didn't work out, right? Well, this is refinement. We sometimes we're loud, we're obnoxious, we're mean, we're whatever. We're not in our highest light, and we're light in like the code of our expression, the conductivity of our electricity of our thoughts, our feelings. So that's light. It's literally like this light that's pumping out. This is electricity and voltage coming towards me so that you can see me, because otherwise it's dark. I missed the moment. The sunset happened, the dark came, I had to put my light on. So, same with your life. Some trauma happened. Someone said, "You're poo." And you're like, "But I mean love." And they couldn't see your love. So they called you poo. And you said, "Oh, I'm poo, 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 I'm poo," you know, and that's not rising up or standing up for who you are. But a lot of times that's a discovery process, because we're indoctrinated from birth into our culture, into our family, into our schooling, into the modality of the industry of the area, the industry of the area that you're in. So, one area is yoga, another area is making cars, another area is making digital digital, apps and things. And that's my area, actually. Well, as much as I tried to get away from it, that is where I come from. And that's what I ended up being good at. But oh, the digital girl, she can't even get herself online. Well, guess what? I'm also magical, and I had trauma, and I did not cultivate my magic because it was not in our culture. As much as it was in our nature, it wasn't okay in our culture. So, oppression, repression, depression. I literally saw things that people said were not true. So, I repressed it. And that's just one aspect of it. And so, self inquiry. This is, I want to talk about the journey so that if you may become inspired to do your own self inquiry, to release the trauma and come back into bliss. So, in self inquiry, you are listening. Self inquiry, inquiring within yourself what's happening. So, you can listen to your thoughts. You can listen to your feelings. You can notice how a food tastes, how it's being swallowed, how it's being digested, and how it's coming out the other end. You can feel your skin and your senses. So, self inquiry can be anything based on what you yourself are experiencing. So, when you take your senses, that's part of your experience. That is your experience. Like, so what do you sense now? Right now, you're hearing, you're listening to me, and maybe you're seeing the video too, or you're laying down, or you're even falling asleep. But whatever, if you're falling asleep, it's in your subconscious, right? So, or arriving into your subconscious somehow. But there are the levels of how it arrives as well, but that's a whole other story. We're talking about senses right now. So you're hearing, you're seeing, and you're having a feeling about what's being spoken. Perhaps images are coming up, memories of your own experiences, or you're seeing my experiences as an image based on your experiences as an image. So as you're listening to me, you're hearing, you're seeing potentially the video, but also while you're seeing the video, there's images playing in your imagination about the experience. And then you're having feelings about that. And that might conjure other senses, like it can conjure a sense of smell. A lot of times, nostalgia or a feeling of a past experience is connected to smell. Have you ever noticed that? And so what are you sensing right now? Take a moment. Notice your body. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts and your feelings. And can you place where those feelings are located? Are they inside your body or beyond you? So this is basic inquiry. When I was in my marble tub overlooking the San Francisco Bay Area with my music and my crystals and my plants, my bass music, I wanted to like rumble that water. I was looking at how to put like a bass underneath my tub so I could, have it go like this and create cymatic tones into the water and have it saturated. I still would love that. And so when I was there, I would hear different voices in different parts of me, and I would feel a pain, I would feel a sorrow, and I would ask, what are you? What do you want? What do you need? And the amount of crying, what do you call it? Catharsis. The amount of catharsis, like when I tuned in and listened specifically to this area of my body, which is the right side, where my spine does not have muscles working. It's scoliosis, so it's the concave side. So it's like empty, and I've done several inquiries about this, and I've done it with teachers and guides, and then I've done it with myself hundreds of times. So there's a lot to unpack there, but let's just say the first time in the bathtub that I inquired, what is that space that's in pain? It was this little girl who was crying that no one loved her, or the love she wanted didn't love her. My dad, who loved me actually, but she didn't think that he loved her. And she was so sad at her loss of her father, and then that, came on to the boyfriend and the this and the that and the guys, and then all the complexities of the traumas just in this lifetime, not to mention the past lifetimes. We can go there. I've connected other moments as well, including past or parallel lives and future. When I was a child, I visited the future and knew I would be okay. And that kept me going when my depression got so low. I was suicidal, but I was like, no, no, no. And one of the sayings I learned was, this too will pass. And not only that, to love, love, learn to love ourselves. If we had trauma, we felt like we were hated, we were beat up, we were tortured, we were, told we were hell on wheels, we were told that we were bad, we were like thrown into this thing and that thing because whatever. We're not this, we're not that, we're not this, and we are this, we are that, we are this. Everyone has an experience of being disfavored, disliked, even hated. It's called hate crimes. A lot of us have experienced it. Yes, I have too. Yeah, I grew up with hate crimes in my home. So, towards me. So, anyway, the point is that I, got this space of pain in my body, which is the right side, which is the male. And that side was a little girl crying in pain of not being loved, not being cared for, and not being seen, heard, known, held, cooed, told it's gonna be okay. We gotcha. That's all I ever wanted. So I gave it to myself. I decided to become the parent of myself that I needed for my healing. And then I ended up healing with my dad. That was, quite part of the journey. That was at least a 10-year journey. So I was the wailing tree so much. And I didn't know how to reconcile this experience. And so I went into, I'm going to do it. This is it. My life is about healing. And I had to drop all kinds of things. I actually went from rich to poor. And I was like, I have to, no matter what, and I was the crazy hippie on the beach with no shoes. And, people were like, have some food, have some shoes. I'm like, no, I don't want plastic on my feet. Let me walk on the beach. But I took the shoes. They were hilarious. I might have pictures. I'm sure I have pictures of it. But I'm just saying that in order for me to heal, I had to drop everything and really, or I felt like I had to, because I didn't have the source that I needed to heal. I didn't have the time. My job, I was working at startups, and startups, if you're in a startup, that's like 12-hour days, 7 days a week. You're studying, you're creating, you're in meetings, and it's something new. You have to figure it out, and there's problems, and there's a small team, you've got 5 hats, these kind of things. Like, I'm like, when am I ever going to heal? Like, oh, when the startup makes up, when the startup makes up, when the startup makes up, for way too long. I put equity into these startups. And so I was just living month to month because, for one, I also wouldn't, after a while of being in a lot of startups, I wouldn't do it full time, but I ended up full time anyway. And then I spent a lot of time on my healing. And so it was like healing and startups, these two separate worlds. And I just wanted to heal. And that was called woo-woo in these sophisticated digital startups. I was in a few. And it was just part of the thought, oh, everyone has problems, deal with it. It's like, no, actually, my problems, my challenges, I like to say challenges over problems, because, for instance, in the tech world, you have issues or problems that you're fixing. And my dear dad, before he passed a couple years ago, he bought the domain problems.com. So if you have any, my dad is an systems analyst from the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. And so, what you look for in tech is you look for problems, you look for issues. So my point is that I like to talk about challenges because with a challenge, it's about finding the gravity to overcome the challenge. But if there's a problem, it's just like, it's so laden with, dirt and stuff you don't like, you don't want a problem. And so, my dad and other uh, programmers, coders, engineers, systems analysts really know how to solve problems. And they even get off on it. Like if they could just, it's like figuring out a puzzle, and it's not something I enjoy. Um, to me, I feel the heaviness of the problem. And anyway, so I'm really getting into that thought about problems, issues, and challenges. So let's have a challenge of upgrading our water so it's loved and it's got all the memory of love and bliss in it, and we drink it up. So I've really got a lot of storytelling to do. And so that's part of the story. And I might speak it again and again because I've been around the engineers. I've been uh, a digital product designer in innovation hubs, think tanks, and things like this. And we didn't actually complete the projects or the products because we had a lot of them and I was doing a lot of different aspects. So I've seen entire systems, and I've also been in a few different areas. And I was like, hands off, no more startups. I don't know, we haven't made it. I'm not going to do another year. I need to heal. And luckily I did, because I was able to reconnect with my dad, my most beautiful, heart loving soul dad, who thought problems were really important to, you know, figure out, discuss. And so we had a lot of weighty, problem oriented discussions in my family since I was a child. And guess who was the problem? I was often the problem, but that was only because I'm female. So that is, you know, another part of it, that it's not just because of female, it's also because I'm feeling as a female, but also I'm not going to go into the family dynamics, but the fact that I'm a female made it difficult for me to have a happy life with people who were unhappy with females and wanted to hurt them. Not my dad. My dad was unhappy with females, but he didn't want to hurt them. The other person wanted to hurt females, and they hurt me. So, and it was just kind of crazy and weird. And so I ended up with some traumatic experiences that ended up being, a lot of depression because I was repressing my actual feelings because I didn't want to go through the pain and I didn't know how to. So I'm talking about this because that's what happens when we uncover the lot of things like, oh my God, was that what happened? Is that what that feeling? And a lot of times our bodies don't flow the entire thing and it gets stuck in that place. And like for me, it's right here. Like so this side is the crying, moping girl, And this side of my solar plexus, so this is the will. This is where, you choose what you're going to do. So this side was crying and moping, no one loves me. And then this side was like, screaming, don't touch me, get away from me, like get off of me, this kind of thing. So it's like these, when I went into the self-inquiry, I heard these stuck loops of me in my trauma that were still activated and had not come through. So that's why self-inquiry can help you. And this is how I know from my personal experience, and how I will say self-inquiry is so key to moving the energies through us, because when we recognize what's happening, then we have a chance to do something about it. Now, what we do about it, there's a whole gamut of possibilities. There's so many healers and so many modalities, and there will be ways that speak to you and ways that don't. So don't poo-poo one way and highlight another, or tell someone that their way is not the way, because everyone has their own path. We each have our own signature, our own energy signature that is our own, and that matches and dances with the energy signatures of others, or release or oppress us further. So what's good for one person is not necessarily good for another, and self-inquiry will assist you in discovering that. So I feel like this a lot of my momentum and my offerings are about trauma to bliss. And today I didn't realize I was going to speak about self-inquiry, but we got the wailing tree and reconciling the wailing, the sadness, the grief of the trauma, the stuck loops, this side, the screaming girl, get away, in fear and stuck in that loop of like, like, because literally things happened that were like, my body was not capable of handling. And then on this side is like, oh, no one cares, so that it was like these two sides. One is like clamped up, screaming, trying to like, you know trying to hold on to reality and not gripping it very well. And then the other side is like, there is no reality for me that works. So, but there is. And so self-inquiry is helping me with those sides. So the left side, the feminine side, was raped and tortured. And then the right side, the masculine side, was hated and shamed and blamed. So, and that's, so when you think about the masculine and feminine, and you think about, the waves of the Ida and Pingala along the Sushumna of your main channel, your spine, or your chakra system, and each wave of the caduceus or the snakes go through the different channels. And this channel, the solar plexus, which is your will center, your your fire, your Aries, your Mars, your sun, your Leo, still getting to know this. Excuse me if I'm slightly off, but I know that this is the sun, and the movement energy, that it is Mars energy, and Aries, and also sun and Leo. So it's your gold, your joy, this is how I'm gonna live, this is how I'm gonna be. And I felt I was oppressed by these men who didn't believe in me, my father figures. And so I was so sad, and this grieving was stuck in me. I didn't give myself time to actually grieve about the losses that I had with these men who were lost themselves. The men who hurt me were lost themselves. So forgive them, for they know not what they do. And luckily, this side, this wailing, shame, blame, the wailing, both of them wailing, they're both crying, but one's crying in fits of fear and, trying to get away. And the other's wailing in fits of low energy and sadness. So there, I had the wailing tree in my solar plexus that was stuck. These two little girls looping in pain, and they were different. And so, one side clenched, that's where the hump is on the left side of my back. And then one side, just letting go and pretending like life doesn't exist. And so that muscle wasn't even firing. Or so the from I'm learning from chiropractors and neurobiologists how it actually works, but that's the way it felt in me, is like the hump side was clenched, and then the concave side was stretched, and the muscle wasn't able to activate. So I understand that both of those muscles are stressed, and so that's the scoliosis and my own explanation. But you know in regards to what I'm hearing about scoliosis. So that's the reason, but still you have a physical experience that might have happened for whatever reason, whether it was those traumas, or that you were a gymnast banging yourself around, or you got traumatic brain injury. So there's a lot of different potentials of why I could have scoliosis, but the pain body still speaks as it does. And so that's what some people call body talk. There's actually a modality. I did self-inquiry, saw this, and then I learned about body talk afterwards. And yet, so I haven't learned specifically from the body talk people. I've learned through my own self-inquiry, and I've learned, from my mom's lineage of suggesting that I listen to myself, and then being in grad school where I actually spent the time to learn about energy in the body and what's happening and how I may shift it. I was looking at the law of attraction, and I was doing Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations and learning about epigenetics from Bruce Limpton. Is he Dr. Bruce Limpton? I'd say he's a doctor. And so, and then Lynn McTaggart, frequency. So I was really looking into, how I can change my vibe. And I saw what was stuck in my body, and I continued to go forward with multiple meditation techniques. I was doing Vipassana for a couple of years, and then I went on to Bliss consciousness um, with Yogi Nardanand, or Swami Nardanand, who's still in India, and you can actually go to his space in India. I'm not sure how public he likes to be, but I really enjoyed the Bliss consciousness with him, and that's where I actually made a lot of progress, because it's about feeling your chi move through your body. And I noticed that my chi was constantly in pain. So I was like, but I'm feeling pain, and my body was doing these like um it's actually called chiropractic. I just heard it yesterday, auto adjustment. And so some chiropractors will say that's not possible. And I literally talked to chiropractors in person who are telling me that it's not possible for you to adjust yourself. But yesterday I was listening to a chiropractor, and he called it auto adjustment. So it exists. Guys who told me that auto adjustment is not possible. It's totally possible that you can adjust your body's bones and muscles according to your mind. And so that's why releasing trauma and getting back to bliss, which is our nature, is including the mind. And I learned about another modality today that can't wait to learn from Dr. Sarno, TMS. I can't quite remember it, but there are physical factors with the things that I have going on, but there are also emotional and feeling factors. But I also feel the magnetics of it. So since I was a child, I was feeling the magnetics of my body. And um, as I said in previous ones that I'm not sure if I uploaded, I believed that I levitated. And uh, that's a whole other story. And I can tell more about that. But as the trauma happened, I wasn't able to attenuate or tune my magnetics nor my electrics of my embodiment. So, and that's, from lineages of trauma. And I don't even know how many hundreds of years, but I did go down the lineages of um, the people in my life who, oh, were in trauma and then projected their traumas onto me. So anyway, it's 11:11, and my favorite song, Rufus du Sol, Inner Bloom, is playing. So this, I find a time to really go in and dream what we like to see for our lives. So as you self-inquire, you may notice some voices, some experiences, some pain, some grieving, and they're stuck in loops. And sometimes they want to just be fully experienced so you can know what it is that was underneath and that you're aiming to navigate back towards. And what is that nature that was taken away from the trauma, from the pain, from the torture, from the depression? What is it that you want? That is the deepest desire within there. The pain shows where you're aiming to navigate. And we get stuck in the pain because we didn't get to have what's our nature, which is to be in bliss. So happy 11:11. May you also set your alarm for 11:11 in the morning and 11:11 at night, or even every hour at 11 minutes past the hour, or whatever your favorite number is, or you're on the hour. A lot of people do on the hour. That's normal in society, but I like to do it on the 11. And may you dream and envision and feel and sense that bliss space. When you self-inquire, you can discover what you what's happening inside, and then further self-inquire and discover what you actually want to happen, what is actually natural to happen. A lot of people are like, oh, want and desire, that's like overboard. You're becoming gluttonous and you're becoming greedy and things like that. So there's this whole thing about letting go of want, desire, or becoming equanimous, equanimity. Don't want, don't desire, don't feel pain, don't, just be neutral. That's, part of the certain meditation styles like Vipassana, is you don't attach to anything. So that's one modality. But what I'm suggesting right now with self-inquiry is recognizing what's happening. What's your default mode? What's your default mood? What's happening in different parts of your body? And if you want any help with this, I can assist you. I've been doing this a long time. I've gotten a few certifications. I'm getting further certification. So there's a lot I can share with you on how to self-inquire and what to do with that information. But just little tidbits to remind you is that if there's a pain or a trauma or a stuck grief or fear, it's a cue to help you to navigate towards what is actually wanting to bloom through you, to come alive through you. So remember the tree coming up and alive, up and alive. And a lot of times the traumas create blockages, pain, and dis-ease, and becomes looped in us. And it's our obligation, if we want to have a good life, not be depressed, not live in repression, not respond to all that oppression, but rather come through and bloom and express your truth, your honesty, your authenticity, your love, your bliss, your grace. And thank you. I will call this From Trauma to Bliss about self inquiry. And this may be the subject that I will be speaking about again and again. Thank you for joining me. And may you live in bliss nature, not gluttonous, but just natural. So you may move through your life in peace, grace, flow, ease, that you love and create your creations that you are here for. Let's do it. Let's evolve humanity. Thank you, beautiful souls, for being here. Adieu.